Hello everybody, my name is Kyle Lee, aka Kilo Loco from kiloloco.com, and today we're going to be going over side menu, how to make one from scratch actually. We're going to be using Xcode 9, Beta 2, Swift 4, skill level I have set to intermediate. Reason for that is you should be pretty strongly familiar with storyboards, and you should have a good understanding of Notification Center. Now, I would say those are both pretty beginner skill sets, but what I'm going to be covering, it's a little bit, it could be a little confusing to somebody that's really new, so I just decided to set it as intermediate. But everybody should be able to follow along and understand what's going on. And then if you want to find this project, there is no starter project. We're going to start from scratch here. This is where you'll be able to find the finished product. Now, I was going to make something like this, which we still are going to be doing this essentially, but it's going to look a little bit sexier than this. As you can see, when it goes to button, it shows, from side menu. If I do it from here, it will go from the button. That's essentially what it was saying. Now, it looks really ugly. It got these nasty, funky colors. This is my demo project. It's going to look a whole lot better, and it'll be a lot more usable than this. Just in case you guys have questions, I figured I might as well just show you guys how you would actually probably use it in your project, as opposed to just showing how to do this type of stuff. It's really simple. Don't know why people keep referring to, I think it's like SW Reveal or something like that. Third-party frameworks. I mean, I suppose it can make your project a little bit easier to navigate, and having classes that automatically do it for you. But if you're like me, sometimes you just want to stay away from third-party resources as much as possible, unless you absolutely need it. So I'm gonna just show you a proof of concept. This is not by any means the best way to do it. Working with Notification Center definitely isn't the best way to do it. I would recommend doing it through delegates, but using delegates can be kind of confusing. And the proof of concept, if you know how to use Notification Center, you should know how to and then you should know how to implement it using delegates. So this is like bare bones how to do this and this and that. Okay. All right, so let's get into it. I already have just a project that I just created. There's nothing in it. Storyboard's empty. View controllers, same. Obviously didn't do anything to app delegate. There wouldn't be anything to do in there. So this is just a brand new project, called it side menu. So let's get to it. So did receive memory warning. I know that for sure. We will probably be using the view did load. The class, I'm going to call this container VC, because this is going to be our main container class. Now, the way that we're going to do this is we're going to be using storyboards, which I feel is a lot simpler to understand than trying to do something in code. Especially for beginners. So what we're going to do is go down here. It's going to be behind my head. You're going to go behind my head. You're going to scroll. You're going to type into filter. You're going to type in container. And container view is going to pop up. So you're going to grab it. It's going to be under UI view. It's going to be container view. It's going to look like a UI view, but it's going to give you this afterwards. So all we're going to do is just going to stretch this all the way down. And it has to be a container view. It can't just be a regular UI view. So keep that in mind. Now notice it gives you this, right? It gives you this little thing that's supposed to represent it. Actually, let me zoom out and I'll put it underneath, because I feel like that makes more sense. All right, so this is what will be our side menu. So what we want to do is we're going to actually delete this, because more likely than not, you're going to want to put things like profile and settings and logout and things like that in there. So what I decided to do, as opposed to the project that I showed you how I originally did it, is we're going to use just a table view controller. So once again, scroll down, or you're going to go down here, and you're going to find your table view controller, not the table view, but the actual table view controller, the yellow one. You're going to grab it. I'll just put it down here where this was. We're going to right click or control click and drag onto here. And with the UI with the container view controller, it gives you this option of embed. Now that's the key to everything, embed. So now we're going to do embed and look at how it modifies the shape of this container view, or of this table view controller. Now, the reason I chose table view controller is, one, because you're most likely going to use it, and two, because table view controllers give you the option to have static table views. So what we can do is we can go to our, no, not the cell, the table view, and it won't be dynamic, but rather it'll be static cells. We'll say only one section, and we want to say, let's say, okay, it gave us 3. We'll do 3, right? So we'll do let's see, we have to throw a label in there, so make sure you grab a label, and we'll just put that in there, and I'll zoom in right now. There we go, label, and it's going to be however long that you want it. And we'll call this, what do you guys usually have? What, profile, right? Then I'll copy it by dragging and pressing option, and then this one will be what, settings, and then log out probably, right? That's typical type stuff, right? So now we have that, right? But that's what our side menu is going to look like. It's going to have a profile, it's going to have setting and log out, and since it's a table view controller, you can select the cell, and then you can trigger actions based off of it, right? So let's go back to our container view controller, and let's make sure that we change this to the container view controller, right? And then let's also add a class for our side menu while we're doing this stuff. So I'll rename this to container VC. Hopefully that doesn't break anything, because sometimes the app delegate breaks with that. We'll do a new file, Cocoa Touch class. We'll do UI table view controller, and this will be our side menu VC, right? And we'll create that. So now we'll be able to assign it, number of sections, table. We don't need like any of this stuff, because all we want to do is we just want to have functionality to select something and then have something happen. So did select row at index path. So print index path dot row for now, right? We'll just have something in there. Now we'll go back, assign this to the side menu. All right, so now we got that connected. So just like any other storyboard view that you would normally want to do, notice that it is essentially a UI view with special properties of allowing you to embed. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create a second one that does something similar. So let's go back down here behind my head, and you're going to do you'll just type in container view, and we'll get a second one. This one we'll put it right here, and it's going to overlap for a couple seconds. We just want it to be the same size as our cell, and we want to drag this thing all the way over. So drag it all the way over, and notice that it's the same size as a normal view controller, right? Now this is the part where we kind of start hacking things together using storyboards. So we have it right here. What we're going to do is we want to pin this one. We want to pin this side menu view controller to the top and to the bottom, right? That's something that we know that we want. We want it to be the same height and the same width. Now we also need the left constraint to be attached to this side, but we don't want it to be 0. We want it to be negative so that it hides. So we want the width of this, but negative. So what we'll do is we'll see the width is 240, and it should be 240 whenever you drag it out of behind my head, the little area. It'll be default to 240. You can have it whatever number you want, but I'm gonna just use 240 for right now. And what we'll do is, let me open this back up. We'll add the top and bottom. We want this to be negative 240. This way, the left side will be all the way over here, minus 240, and it will completely hide it. And we'll also have access to this constraint, which I'll get to in a couple seconds. We also need it to be connected to this one, but we don't want any spaces in between it as well, right? So we'll do 0 to our main view controller, and then we see 0 right there. So we have all the constraints set in place, right? Now it's going to give us red until this one actually has it, but let's go ahead and try to get it close. And what we'll do is we'll do top, bottom, right, and then we're going to make sure that this is 0, and it already has the constraint to this one because they're connected, right? Hope that makes sense. Alrighty, so we should be able to, you know what, let's just make sure that it does have it. Leading space, bottom space, leading space, yeah. So let's go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. We want to make sure that we specify that the width is set to. There we go. Because you want it to be locked in at that 240. You don't want it to be shrinking and expanding. That's why Xcode was giving us a fit. So now it's going to be, now it's only going to be this view controller right here. You can only see this one. If you want to access the side menu view controller, what you have to do is you have to go back up to the container VC and you have to find it. It's going to be this one right here, and you'll notice that, it's hidden, but it's off to the side. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to slide it in, and we're going to do that by accessing the constraint that we put on it that has 240. This leading constraint right here, we're going to change that to 0. So when we set it to 0, if I were to set that to 0 right now, you'll see that it will slide in, right? It's right there now. But if I undo that, it's going to slide back out, and it's going to go back to 240. So that's going to be essentially how we're sliding in and out. Now, usually you're not going to just have a side menu and no way to get to it. You usually have access to it through a navigation controller, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this view controller, and we're going to go up to editor, and we'll just say embed in navigation controller, right? So now we have the main one that's always showing up in our container view controller, right? Is going to be the navigation controller, and the navigation controller is going to show you whatever you have right here. So what I'll do is I'll just put in a label from behind my head, or actually we could put in a title, right? UI nav bar item. You know what? I forgot how to do it. My brain's not working right now. But we're just going to put in a label. Makes more sense right now anyway. We'll put it right here towards the top. And then this is your main view. And then let's say we have some type of button, right? Show other view, right? So when we click on that button, we want it to show another view. Hope that makes sense. We'll have this centered. I want it just to look a little bit sexier, yeah? Just a little bit. All right, and then when we go to that, we want another view controller. View controller. Right. So now what we'll do is we can just do show, and it'll automatically give us the back button. And we'll grab this. This is the second VC, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and run this and let's see what we have so far. So far it should be mainly we only have access to the main view controller. Like any other project, it would just be like opening up straight to the navigation controller, seeing this screen, being able to hit this button, being able to tap back, and that's what we should have so far. So override, right? There we go. And we don't, I don't know, I might add another. Do I need another view controller for my main view controller? Yes, because I need to access that button, but we don't need that to show what we have right now. You know what, they have the same bundle ID, so it may be causing a problem. So let's go ahead and erase that. And that should allow us to launch it in the simulator, and it should work. All right, here we go. Now, once this finishes its loading, we'll have our navigation bar, right? This is your main view controller, and then we'll show other view, which is just the regular segue, right? And since it's a navigation controller, we can go back, right? So that part's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Now what we want to do is we want to add a button up here that would normally be like your hamburger or your drawer menu or whatever you call it. I'm going to just type in more right here, and that's going to give us access to show the other view controller, which is the side menu. So let's go ahead and add in that functionality right now. So we'll go back over to the main storyboard. What we want to do is we want to add bar button from behind my head. We'll throw that in there, and usually it's more. You know, it's usually not spelled out. It's usually an icon, but that's essentially what it's supposed to mean. And when we call that, when we tap on that, something should happen. Now let's go ahead and make a view controller for this view controller right here, so that we can have access to our more button. We'll just do that right here. New file, Cocoa Touch class. We'll just do the regular view controller. Call this main VC. Go ahead, hit that next button. Real next. Yeah. All right. So all we really need to do is with this class is have an action that will receive the side menu button was tapped, right? So at IB action func on more tapped, we'll do something, right? Print toggle side menu, right? Something like that. Go ahead, go back, and we'll connect it. So right click, or yeah, two finger touch it, and then we'll do we have to convert it to the right class. So main VC, now we could do the right click, connect them on more tapped, and run that. So now we have this connected, and we'll see that pop up shortly. We need to be able to access the constraint of the constraint that I referenced earlier, that negative 240. So watch when we do more, toggle side menu, right? So now it's connected. We need to have access to this constraint right here, this one, which is going to indicate where the side menu is located in our view. Right now it's at negative 240, but we want it to be at 0. So what we'll do is we'll go up to our container view controller and we'll add an IB outlet for it. And this will be our side menu constraint. And this is of type NS constraint, layout constraint. So we'll connect that. And we have our side menu constraint, and it will be connected to right here, the leading constraint. So now we can access that and we can change it as we please. So we're going to have func show side menu. Or no, we need to call it toggle. You could call it show or whatever you want to do, but toggle makes more sense for this purpose. Toggle side menu, and we're gonna need a variable in here that's gonna control whether, or it's gonna say whether the side menu is already visible or not. So we'll have var side menu open, right, equal to false, right? Because when we start the application, it's false. So if side menu open, then we'll do something. If not, then we'll do something else. All right, so if it's open, then we need to set the constraint back to that negative 240. If it's not open, then we need to set it to 0. So let's go ahead and do that. So side menu constraint dot constant is equal to negative 240. Side menu constraint constant is equal to 0. All right, so now if it's open, then we'll set it to negative 240. That'll hide it. If it's closed, then we'll set it to 0, and that will bring it onto the screen. Also, we need to, let's see. Actually, I made a mistake. Let's go back over to this. Let's go back over to the storyboard. Make sure that. Let's see what constraints did I put. Trailing. All right, trailing spaces should be off. We'll delete this trailing spaces. And what you actually want to do is make sure that it's the right container view, and we'll drag it over to our view. And we want to have equal widths. That's what we want, because we want it to always be the same size as the as whatever the view is. All right, so let's go ahead and try that out, and that should work. Oh, actually it won't work because I haven't, there's no trigger to call that show or toggle side menu, right? And that's where we're going to get into using the notification center to, you know, send signals that will, or send notifications that say, hey, open, it's time to open. See, there's nothing to do. Okay, so what we have to do, so what we have to do is we'll get this view did load back. View did load. If it wants to come back, it probably doesn't. Okay, override func view did load. What was it? Underscore animated. Or no. View did load. That looks right. Super dot view did load. Let me double check on somewhere else. Yeah, that's how it's done. All right, so what we need to do is we need to add an observer. We need to add an observer that will be on the lookout for that. Now, when we do observers and we're using Notification Center, what has to happen is that whatever function that you're calling that's being used by the Notification Center has to be bridged to Objective-C. So what we'll do is we'll put this one as @objc so that the Notification Center can access it. So let's go ahead and get into adding that observer. So we'll do Notification Center dot what is it, default or default? Yeah, default dot add observer. Let's see, we want this one right here. So observer, that will be self. Selector is going to be hash selector, and we'll do toggle side menu. The name will be, we'll just call it toggle side menu. And then the object, we're not going to be passing it any an object. We're not going to pass it an object. All right, and then let me just space these out so that it looks a little bit cleaner for you. All right, so as you can see, we'll be calling toggle side menu whenever it receives a notification with the toggle side menu name. So now what we have to do is we have to go back to our main view controller, and when we have the on more tapped function called, what we'll do is we'll actually post a notification. So Notification Center dot default dot post notification with a name, and that name is going to be what we just specified earlier, right? The toggle side menu, and we're not passing any object to it. So now what should happen is we should see that side menu pop up and our view move over to the side. And right now there's no animations, but it should still work. It just won't look sexy. Where did it go? Oh, let's see. Is it working already? Yeah, see how it's over to the side, and you have your profile. You have it all set like that. You could click stuff. See, things are happening now. If I hit more again, it should disappear, but it's not. So we have to find out why that is. So let's go ahead and go back. And the reason for that is because I never changed the toggle side menu, the side menu open flag. So side menu open is now equal to false. Side menu open is equal to true. All right, and that will allow us to toggle between the two. Also, another thing that I noticed is that you saw multiple rows. It just kept going even after that. And that's because we didn't specify that we want this side menu table view to be grouped. So what we'll do is we'll go over to grouped, and that will make it look a little bit cleaner. So now we have essentially the basics, and this is literally like all you need to know. I'm pretty sure you can figure out the rest from here. I know maybe just the container views, you just maybe didn't think of it, or you didn't know that they existed. And now look at that. So now it works, and we can still click on stuff. And I mean, if you've been doing web or iOS development, you probably know where to go from here. But if you still want to continue and follow along, by all means, that's what I'm here for. Okay, so now we already have this. This is all working, right? And if we go over here, notice that it's still working. I can still click this button and it causes like some strange behavior. Now, you know, you can make sure you can flag for that. You can say like, you can set this one to disabled and all that other stuff. I'm not going to get into that, but just keep in mind that with this approach, all this stuff is still enabled, so I can still select stuff over here and all that other goodness. All right, so the last part that I want to show you is how to show a profile, settings view, and a logout. So let's just say that these were 3 other view controllers that we wanted to go to, right? So what we'll do is we'll create 3 more view controllers from behind my head. View controller. One. And we'll just do 2. Now I know there's easier ways. I could have just passed the name to say whatever, but you know, just to prove the point that it can be done, I want to make sure that you guys understand this. So what we'll do is we'll grab a label, and this will be the profile view. This will be your settings view, and then since we're logging out, this will be like the sign in view, right? Hope that makes sense, and that's not going to throw anybody out, because there's usually not a log out view. It's just like an alert usually. And what we can do is, since it's going to be accessed from this screen, what we can do is we could just grab it from here. We could just say show, and then based off of now I know that your application probably won't be able to just do it just like this, but this is like proof of concept of how you can essentially do that. And yeah, so it'll be able to go from this screen to any of these screens as well, and we'll have to notify the view controller that which screen we want to go to, that is. Sorry for struggling on spitting that out. Just spit it out. Just spit it out. Yeah. So let's go ahead and go over to what we'll do is we have to be ready to receive the toggle we have to be ready to receive it. So we also need a view did load in here. View did load. Right, super.view did load, and we need to add observers for each of those calls just so that we can go to the right one. So let's see, how do I want to do this? Yeah, let's see. We'll just grab this observer and we'll just rename, we'll just make duplicates of it in the view did load, and we'll call them different stuff. So now we'll say show, or what were our things? We're gonna do show profile, show settings, show sign in, and then we need to have some type of function to call. So perform segue. Whoa, no, we'll just do show, call it func, show screen. Right? And remember, we need to do at objc because it's going to be consumed by the notification center. So we'll do show screen. And we'll actually just make a couple of different ones of these if we want it, just to make it even more plain Jane. So we'll do show profile because I don't want to go through the logic of having to do all the settings. And you could do sign out or sign in, actually. That's what it would be. And we'll do show profile, show settings, show sign in. Even more straightforward. So guess what? They're calling their own functions, and all we have to do is perform a segue with identifier. And they're going to have the same identifier, and they're not going to be sending anything. And like this one will be called show profile. And I'll just go back and add that to the segue. And it'll be as simple as that. Super simple, super straightforward. Let's keep it proof of concept level, and everybody should be able to follow along. So we just want to make sure that we have all of our identifiers specified here. Sign in, so when I go back over to my storyboard, I can name these with the same names. This one's going to be show profile, just like I did. This one's going to be show settings, just like I did. And this one's going to be show sign in, just like I did. All right. So now, whenever the main view controller receives any of these notifications, it'll call these actions, right? And it'll show the respective screen. Like I said, this isn't the best way to do it, but that is a way to do it. So now what we have to do is we have to switch based off of the index path.row so that we can post notifications for the correct screen. So we'll go back, or we'll do a switch statement. So switch index path.row, and then case 0, case 1, case 2, and then default break. Right, so case 1 was to post a notification that will take us to the profile. So I'll just go back over to the main view controller, copy the post notification, and we'll just switch out the name for each of those. It'll be super simple. So let's go back over to our side menu. And we're just going to paste these in here, right? And we're just going to switch out the names so that it posts a notification for the correct segue, or for the correct notification for the observers. So we named our observers notification names, and the segue is the same, but you don't have to do it that way. I just chose to do it that way. Show profile. This one was show settings. And then this one was show sign in. Right? So now whenever one of these gets tapped, it should take us to the correct screen. So let's see if I did everything right. I hope I didn't leave anything out. And I think that's probably as simple and as straightforward as it probably gets. We'll see. And I'll do if it works and everything, then I'll go over how everything's working. So we'll go profile. We'll notice that it doesn't go away. So that's one thing that we need to change when we click on that. So let's go ahead and stop that. We'll go back over to side menu. And when we click on something, we want our side menu to disappear, right? So we'll just post a notification that says toggle side menu. So now, every time I click on something from the side menu, not only is it going to toggle the side menu, which since you're going to select something from the side menu, that means it's open, it'll automatically close it. And based off of which row I select, it will show the respective one. So profile settings, or it'll do like the logout, which will show the sign in screen, right? Yeah. Oh, and I know that sign out, you wouldn't normally keep them in the navigation controller that allows them to go back, but I mean, once again, just the idea of doing something. This isn't foolproof. I already told you. Delegates are probably a better way to do it anyway. So now, profile, closes, animates, all that stuff. Now, the only thing that we're kind of missing is that when we do more, oh, well, let me show you guys settings, settings view, and then log out. It'd take you to the sign in page, right? The only thing that we're kind of missing is just that animation to slide in and slide out, just so that it looks a little bit sexier. So let's do that, and that's going to be in our container view. And what we can do is, since UI view doesn't work on constraints, what you have to do is you have to set layout, or layout if needed. So we'll do UI view dot animate, and we'll do this simple one. And I looked it up somewhere a long time ago. 0.3 is the standard, like it's like the average animation time for most UI animations. It takes about 0.3 seconds for any animation to finish. And in here we'll just do self.layout self.view.layout if needed. And that should give us an animation if I am correct, which I could be, might not be, but I could be. Could totally be correct. I might not be, but I think I am. But yeah, so that should give us an animation of about 0.3 seconds, which, like I said, most animations take that long. And it will update our view. So it should give us that nice clean slide in and slide out animation. And if that's done, then that's it. And if you want to go like one step further, you can throw shadows on it, things like that. The container views are just like any other UI view, with the exception of having that ability to embed. So you can throw shadows on them. And let's just make sure that this works. And if it does, then we're done. And I'll give a real quick recap of how we went about this and did everything. So we get that nice clean, slide in from the side. Looks a little bit better. So yeah. All right. So quick recap what we did. All you really need to do for side menus is this: the two container views. If you know how to do that, then you're pretty much golden. Anything other than that, I showed you was proof of concept. As you can see, going back to the container view, the side menu in the container view, it adapts the form of whatever that side menu is, and we just hit it off to the side, right? And then we put the main view controller right here, and we have it set to equal width so that it's always the same size as the screen. And whenever we push our side menu in, it's just pushing that entire screen over here. So yeah. Anything after that, you can embed in a navigation controller, into tab bar controller. You could do all the same stuff that you would normally do with like any other view controller. All you want to do is just have a main container view controller like high above, so that you can call that side menu. And last but not least, we're using notifications to handle all these different calls, so that we can just have easy transitions. This is the observer that it can be called from the main view controller whenever more is tapped, so that we can toggle that side menu. The side menu just is a table view, so we're using the did select row method. We want to make sure that the side menu closes whenever it's selected, or whenever an item is selected. And then we also want to make sure that we send a post notification for each of whatever transition we're trying to do on our main view controller. So we have the observers for each of those, and we're calling different segues for each of those. Not an efficient method, but it's one way to do it. And once again, the more method. So I hope that makes sense. This way you guys can do it from scratch. You can take any piece of this that you want, probably the container part, and model it into your project, so that you don't have to use a third-party resource to do it. You can add all the different animations that you want. You have full control. You could put any type of controller. You could put I could have done it with a collection view controller if I wanted. It just gives you more control when you know how these things work, or have a proof of concept, and then you can build your way up to the proper implementation. So that's it. Once again, my name is Kyle Lee, aka Kilo Loco from kiloloco.com. Make sure you reach out to me on Twitter. You give this video a like, subscribe, and you can also reach out to me in the comments if you have any questions or suggestions. So as always, guys, thank you for joining me, and always remember that you have to code passionately. Yeah, there you go.